Hello again. So, for the third installment in the Dev Diary, I thought I'd try and talk about some actual game development, because so far all I've talked about is trying to build an audience and showing you the crappy Kickstarter video that I made. And you can see there I've got this step ladder. This is my multi-purpose tool, not just a step ladder, but it also functions as my dining table and a tripod for the camera. I have this whiteboard back here, which I could use to demonstrate stuff. So I thought, because the last video is about Bad Blood, and because I've not said anything about actual programming, game design, or any of that kind of stuff so far, that I should probably do something that's based around our other game that we're working on with the codename of Chicago Chase, and present you something on the whiteboard. So I showed you Chicago Chase briefly in the first video, but here's a bit of an extended view. You can see some more of the jank, and I think this demo took us something like 2 weeks whilst we were doing other stuff. It's not really even a demo. So the idea behind this game is that, well, we're game developers, and I have some issues with the business model that most game developers use, which seems to be that you make something cheap and crappy, then you go to a publisher or some investor with your hands out and say, please give me money, with the idea that you take their money and you use it to finish the thing that you started, and then everyone together can make piles of money. Now, in the past, I've made a game in a week and shipped it, and it actually did surprisingly well, although that was probably because it was free. I spent another week on it, working it up so that it would work on other platforms, and again, that went surprisingly well. So if you can make something in 2 weeks, why the hell aren't we making something and then selling it as the way to try and make money? After all, we're a games company. That should be our business model. So originally I had some different ideas, but my business partner Imi came up with this one, which is actually absolutely brilliant. And the idea was to clone this Taito coin-op game called Chase HQ, which is a fantastic little game. And it's quite important that it's little. It has a very simple gameplay focus. You have to avoid obstacles whilst trying to accelerate the car. So it's about not making mistakes and looking at what's coming up in front and judging how you avoid it. And then at some point, once you've done well enough at this, you then have to chase a criminal, which adds an extra layer of difficulty to the challenge. You have a time limit. You have to get him before he gets away. And because you're trying to hit him, you have to do something more than just avoid the obstacles and stay on the road. The original game had 5 levels, so we're going to go for something similar, at least at first, although we'll see how that goes as we develop the game. And the original game is a sort of 2D, 2.5D, very low-res pixel art, so we've gone for a totally different style. We're sort of trying to be inspired by the awesome 1970s buddy cop shows. The visuals are trying to go in that sort of hyper-saturated 1970s television look, although we're still doing some comic-y type stuff. We've replaced our sort of crosshatch shading with some sketchy dottiness. And we're actually missing the outlines because they're not straightforward to port from Unity 2021 to 2023. Because, well, you know, Unity, they like to change their interface underneath you for whatever reason they fancy. Now, I was originally thinking that I'd talk about my plans for implementing some of the game mechanics, but at this point, I've talked more than enough. So I'm going to save those things for the next video, possibly the next 2. So on that note, thank you for listening, and please like, subscribe, or share our video.